Right, you're on. All right, welcome to race number 10 of 29 here in the 1991 throwbacks. And man, we continue to have an absolutely crazy season as the King Richard Petty, who has not won a race since 1983, believe it or not, notched career win number 199 last week at Talladega. Richard Petty is, of course, struggling. He failed to qualify for 2 races, and he just, yeah, he won. He won the race at Talladega. So this is now going to be the 3rd Winston Million race of the season. This is, of course, the big one, the Coca-Cola 600, the longest race of the year. If Rusty Wallace or Richard Petty are able to take the victory in today's race, they will get a $100,000 bonus check, and they will have a chance to win a $1 million bonus going into Darlington. That is, of course, the big thing right now. Let's see who is going to be on the pole for the race, and it looks like with a speed of 175.012 miles per hour, Ernie Irvan is going to be on the pole for the Coca-Cola 600. All right, and we'll get you that top 10 here real quick. So here we go. Your top 10 for the Coca-Cola 600 is going to be Ernie Irvan on the pole, Ken Schrader in second. We have Alan Kulwicki in third, Bill Elliott in fourth, Sterling Marlin fifth, Tim Richmond will roll off sixth, Mark Martin, your points leader, still winless this season, will roll off seventh. Davey Allison, in what has to be so far a breakout season considering the bad luck that he's had, he'll roll off eighth. Rusty Wallace, the current leader in wins so far this season, he'll roll off ninth. And Ricky Rudd will round out the top 10. Man, here's the command for today's race.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
The engines are firing off. The cars are getting underway, going behind the Pontiac Grand Prix pace car. 42 drivers showing up for today's event. The standard amount. Pace car pulling into the pit road here. And NASCAR's longest race of the season is going to begin. They come down to the line through the dog leg here at Charlotte, and the green flag is out. They are underway here for the Coca-Cola 600. And it looks like Ernie Irvan is going to jump out to a quick lead, but who's right behind him? Defending Point Series champion Alan Kulwicki. He's going to waste no time. He's going to get right onto the back bumper of Ernie Irvan. He is right there early on. Third place, Ken Schrader, he also breaks away. Sterling Marlin looks like he's going to be in fourth. It's side by side for fifth on back for right now. Lap number 1 is going to go directly to Ernie Irvan. Rusty Wallace is still right there trying to fight for Bill Elliott in that 5th position. And it looks like Wallace is going to get it. Bodine trying to pass Elliott for 5th, and they are for 6th rather, and they are still a dead heat. Looks like Elliott is going to get an advantage on the high lane. Can he clear him? No, not quite. He's going to try to, though, and it looks like, yes, he is. He's able to merge down at the bottom of the track, and Elliott is going to fall in line. He's going to be in the 6th position here. Meanwhile, we have a battle for second place as Ken Schrader, he had a very fast car in practice, let me tell you. And from what it's looking like right now, Ken Schrader, he might have the car to beat early on. He just passed defending series champion Alan Kulwicki for the 2nd position. And he's got the fastest car on track right now. 177.661 miles per hour is currently the fastest lap, and he's got it. And it looks like now the fastest lap times are going well over 178 miles an hour. That time, the fastest lap, Jeff Bodine in the number 11. And right with him in the number 9, Bill Elliott. So those guys were the fastest cars on the track that time around. Man, they do look pretty fast. I tell you what, this Ken Schrader car, this number 5, is an extremely fast car. He got around Alan Kulwicki, no issues. And now he's right on the back of Ernie Irvan. Schrader dives down to the inside here on corner number 1, and it looks like we're going to have our first lead change of the day, folks. Ken Schrader is going to slide up in front of Ernie Irvan, and he's going to take that lead away from Irvan. Irvan now trying to prevent the bleeding. Alan Kulwicki down on the inside of the 4 car, and Kulwicki's going to go for second place. And now Sterling Marlin, he's there. He wants the 3rd position away from Ernie Irvan. And you got to figure Rusty Wallace is also right there. He's probably going to want 4th. So Ernie Irvan is now looking like he's going to be on the way back train. Remember, Ernie Irvan picked up his first career win in this very race just 1 year ago, the 1990 Coca-Cola 600. This is the race that Ernie Irvan broke out at. Meanwhile, with all of that battling going on, Ken Schrader, Alan Kulwicki, they are gone, and Marlin is trying to check out as well. But it looks like Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine, they're also going to be able to get around Ernie Irvan. And it looks like that's really the only battle going on in top 10 right now. Terry Labonte, Morgan Shepherd, they are in the top 10. That leaves drivers like Tim Richmond and Davey Allison on the outside looking in early on, as well as Mark Martin. And obviously some of the Fords here did not come off with the right setup. They just had a very unlucky start, and it looks like that, from what I'm hearing anyways, that both Davey Allison and Mark Martin are fighting a tight race car here early on in the race. And that, of course, makes it very miserable whenever you're pulling up behind someone. If you have a tight car, it's always going to be an uphill battle. Meanwhile, a driver that we always expect to be up front, the man in black, Dale Earnhardt. This is one of his best tracks. He is struggling mightily today, just getting inside of the top 20 right now and passing Phil Parsons for the 18th position. Dale Earnhardt facing an uphill battle today for sure. I'll tell you what, maybe that tightness is starting to go away a little bit with both Mark Martin and Davey Allison. Maybe they have a more of a long run setup on their cars rather than a short run setup. Because that 28 car and the 6 car, both of them are starting to look pretty fast right now compared to everyone else. It could be just because they were going a little bit slower to save tires and whatnot. Taking a look right now, the fastest car on the track right now, believe it or not, the current leader in wins so far this season, number 2, Rusty Wallace. And man, Rusty Wallace, he has had an incredible few years. You want to talk about some breakout stars. All right, Rusty Wallace, 7 second place finishes in his career before notching that first career win in 1988. He finally gets win number 1 at Rockingham in 1988. He wins 7 races that season en route to a 4th place points finish, if you can believe that or not. That 7 wins netted him, that was the 3rd place points finish. If you can believe that 7 wins nets you a 3rd place points finish, well, when you're finishing behind Dale Earnhardt and Tim Richmond, that's unfortunately what happens. As you can see, Rusty Wallace passing Sterling Marlin there for the 3rd position. And then you talk about their 1989 campaign, which was just, to put it lightly, dismal. It was a dismal 1989 campaign, to the point where, the owner of the team was like, you know what? The next season, it's going to be my last season owning a car. So Rusty Wallace is like, okay. So he goes out there, he wins 7 races, tied for the best in the season. You think that's all right. He finishes 8th in the points that year because of his rampant inconsistencies. He was winning one race, and then he was wrecking out the next race, and he just could not get a consistent run together. So he had all those wins, he just couldn't put the finish. And that's just something that, again, Rusty Wallace has followed him with the new team owner and Roger Penske, legendary IndyCar owner. And you can see here that, yeah, he's got 3 wins, more than any other driver, yet again. And once again, the inconsistencies have plagued him. I mean, you got to figure, he starts off by winning the Daytona 500, and he wins 2 more races in rapid succession. And since then, he has had plenty of races where he's been near the front. He's been near the front in almost every single race at one point. He just has not put the finishes down. And you got to figure, at some point, after years and years and years of being so close to putting up amazing seasons, that's going to eventually take a toll on you. You got to figure that if there's one driver that's hungry to win a points championship, there's probably no driver that's hungrier right now than this man, Rusty Wallace. You know, he just wants to go out there and put on a show week in and week out, and he really, really shows it. As you can see here, Rusty Wallace now moves into the 2nd position, passing that number 7 of Alan Kulwicki. And it looks like Sterling Marlin and Jeff Bodine are also going to go around Alan Kulwicki. That's the 2 Junior Johnson machines. Not very common that you actually see the 22 in front of the 11, but today Sterling Marlin's clearly unloaded with a fast machine. Want to look further back, Bill Elliott right now chilling in the 6th position. Right there, Ernie Irvan. Morgan Shepherd, he's having a good day so far to start off the Coca-Cola 600. He is in the 8th position. And there you have Ricky Rudd at 9th. And Tim Richmond right now rounds out the top 10. And you can see Davey Allison passing Terry Labonte for the 11th position. And you can imagine Mark Martin won't be too far behind to try to get into 12th. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt, he's also slowly making his way through the field right now. He's currently in 16th. He's right behind owner-driver Darrell Waltrip, trying to get into the top 15. Another battle going on here, and this has been a multi-lap battle going on and between 2 young drivers right now. Michael Waltrip and Rob Moroso are really battling it out on the track right now. Yeah, between the 2 of them, looks like Michael Waltrip's starting to take off now, but it looked like that Moroso was doing a great job holding off Michael, but man, Michael's really shooting out of a cannon on that one. So even a little bit further back, we have Chad Little and Hutch Strickland battling for position. I believe this is for 23rd. See if anything can happen here. And to add on, here's Neil Bonnet in the 25th position. He's really not having a good day so far. Let's go further back. Jimmy Spencer in 27th. He's also really, really struggling. You have Larry Pearson. Last week, he was 6th at Talladega. This week, he's about to be passed and put into 30th position. And last week's winner, the king, Richard Petty, right now trying to stay in the top 35. And it looks like Rick Mast is also having a really miserable day with that 8 machine currently in the 35th position. Nobody's gone a lap down yet. Right now, Ken Schrader, he looks like he's got the car to beat. He was able to pass Ernie Irvan, I believe, on lap number 5. And Schrader has not looked back since he's taken the lead. And this is another driver that's kind of looking for some redemption. You take a look at his 1988 campaign, and Ken Schrader really broke out in a big way, getting a win at Michigan. And he got one more win in his 1988 campaign, putting up pretty impressive numbers. I mean, that was his 1989 campaign, not 88. My bad. And then his 1990 campaign was dismal, and he was barely able to stay in the top 20 in points. So Ken Schrader now moved from his sort of second-rate ride with Hendrick Motorsports to basically the flagship ride of Hendrick Motorsports. That's the number 5 machine. That's the flagship ride. Unless your name is Tim Richmond. Then you could just drive the wheels off of anything you get your hands on. But Ken Schrader's, he is in the ride for Hendrick Motorsports right now with that number 5 machine. So this is really Ken's time to shine. And he's another driver. He's been up front. He's had fast cars. He's just not been able to get the job done at the end of the race and pull off the wins. So Schrader, just another one of those drivers who's really looking for a lot of redemption. Meanwhile, we've got a gaggle of cars behind Dave Marcus. All of them leaders. And it looks like Sterling Marlin is going to lose a couple of positions here. Yeah, that's pretty much all that happens there. Sterling Marlin lost a couple of positions, and Ken Schrader was able to pull away just a little bit more. Meanwhile, I tell you what, the cars that were struggling earlier, they're starting to make their way into the top 10. Davey Allison just pulled into 10th. Mark Martin, he might be 13th, but man, he is right there. So Davey Allison, Mark Martin, they are coming for positions. Maybe they weren't struggling as much as we initially thought. A little tight on the long run, but clearly their cars have loosened up. And this is an extremely long race, so we know that the track conditions are almost certainly going to change while the race is going on. Almost certainly they're going to change. Meanwhile, Ken Schrader here looks like he's getting held up a little bit here by Lake Speed and Jeff Purvis. And meanwhile, no, Ken Schrader, he's going to come onto pit road here. Well, I would think would be a little bit early here on lap 28. I don't know if that's going to be an unscheduled stop for Schrader or what's going on, but I would think that lap 28 would be very, very early. I would figure these drivers would try to make it a 2-stop race. Try to get to lap 33 and try to get to lap 66. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is going to have to be a 3-stop race. Lots of drivers coming in here on lap number 29. Yeah, and it looks like lots of drivers is going to be pretty much everyone. I'm just trying to see if anyone stays out for 5 bonus points, and it doesn't look like anyone's going to stay out for 5 bonus points. Meanwhile, contact! Greg Sachs in the wall. He saves it, no caution. Meanwhile, poor pit strategy out of the Ken Schrader pit box. Look who just came out with the lead. We'll see if he's actually the leader or not when everything cycles through. But man, it looks like that Sterling Marlin is going to be the leader. Now, here we go. Look at this. Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine come out of pit road side by side. So it looks like Rusty Wallace is actually going to come out of pit road with the lead. So Rusty Wallace comes out as the leader. Ken Schrader falls all the way to 4th because of pit stops. So clearly whatever strategy that the 5 car pulled there was definitely not the strategy to be on. Yeah, they just had... No, just what happened is that they had a very hard time getting the left side of the car jacked up. The jack ended up falling off the mount, so they had to re-jack up the car, which added a ton of time to their stop that they did not want. Oh, there you go. So Ken Schrader having a very long pit stop, and that's the reason why he ended up falling back as far as he did. And I tell you what, this is going to show you how fast this 5 car is, because he's already gotten around the 22. And he's looking to get around Jeff Bodine here in the 11. Yeah, Ken Schrader. I'm telling you, he's got the fastest car on the track. It's really hard to debate if he has the fastest car on the track or not. I mean, Rusty Wallace might have a slightly faster time, and I mean slightly. But it really looks like that Ken Schrader is pretty much head and shoulders above everyone else on the track right now. Now, just take a look at this. Look at the closing rate that he has here on Rusty Wallace. He already passed the 11, and it's like he's right back to the number 2's bumper. Yeah, Schrader just has an incredibly fast car today. Let's just hope that the pit road woes don't continue to weigh him down, because, man, that would be a shame, because Schrader's just got a wicked fast car. Like a very, very impressively fast car. And there he goes. Schrader down to the inside. For the second time today, he's going to take the lead underneath the green flag. If he can clear Rusty Wallace here. And it looks like he's going to clear him with ease. Meanwhile, Jeff Bodine, he wants the second position. Some of these race car drivers, man, they're just vultures, and Jeff Bodine right there to try to take that position away from Rusty Wallace. I'll tell you what, Alan Kulwicki's been on the back bumper of Sterling Marlin pretty much ever since Marlin ended up getting passed by Schrader. So I don't know if Alan Kulwicki intends on making a move here or not, but all I do know is that Jeff Bodine just lost 2 positions. Lap traffic is obviously playing a big factor in today's race. Exactly what you would expect out of Charlotte. They're trying to get out of the way, but they can only do so much. You're just having a fantastic battle for the lead, as well as a fantastic battle for the 3rd position. Right now, this is for 3rd between Sterling Marlin, Alan Kulwicki, and Jeff Bodine. Bodine really loose coming off of turn number 4. I don't know if you were able to see that on camera or not, but Jeff Bodine damn near wrecked the car coming off of turn number 4 there. That was a bit crazy. Oh, it doesn't matter if he almost wrecked the car or didn't. The fact of the matter is he didn't wreck the car, and right now he is in the 5th position. 4th position. He is in the 4th position. He got around Alan Kulwicki. Meanwhile, Ken Schrader continues to defend his lead up against Rusty Wallace. So those two. So Rusty Wallace has really been the only driver that has been able to hang with Ken Schrader today. So these 2 cars, maybe just these 2 cars, are just head and shoulders above everyone else. Because I'm telling you, I don't know if anybody can beat Ken Schrader without him messing up on pit road again. That 5 car is just unbelievably fast. We've seen crazy things happen here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, of course. We've had crazy, crazy, crazy finishes here. Not just at the 600-mile race, but the 500-mile race as well. We've had crazy races here at Charlotte, no matter what. Of course, probably the best finish in Charlotte Motor Speedway, at least in recent memory, is between 2 of the veterans on the circuit, Bill Elliott and Ricky Rudd. And that's back when Ricky Rudd was actually driving that 15 car that Morgan Shepherd is in right now. And I'll tell you what, those guys were battling for the lead with like 10 laps to go, and they were battling for all 10 of those laps. And then Ricky Rudd just picked the right time to end up sliding underneath Bill Elliott and ended up actually winning the race, stealing the win from Bill Elliott out from underneath the nose at the 1985 500-mile race at this track. And it was a side-by-side finish. I mean, Ricky Rudd did not win by much, to say the least. And Ricky Rudd did not win by much at all. And yeah, that's probably the most iconic finish here. I mean, something even crazier almost happened in the 1985 Coca-Cola 600. Back then, it would have just been the World 600. But something even crazier happened when Bill Elliott was dominating the entire race, and it looked like that Elliott was going on to one of his standard dominating super speedway wins. And it turns out after pit strategy, Bobby Hillin Jr. was actually in the lead. And he had the lead all the way until a lap and a half to go. Bill Elliott had to run Bobby Hillin Jr. down, who was trying to save fuel to make it all the way to the end. He had to run Bobby Hillin Jr. way down. And he ended up catching him. Like 5 seconds in the last few laps, he ended up catching, passing, and Elliott ended up winning. But it was one lap away from being one of the craziest Charlotte Motor Speedway stories ever. So without question, Charlotte is a crazy track. A lot of crazy, unexpected things happen here. Drivers love to get their first win here. So, yeah, this is definitely an unpredictable event, and that's something that makes the Coca-Cola 600 really such a special event and a crown jewel event, a Winston Million event here in NASCAR. That is really what makes this event so special, is the utter unpredictability of this race in particular, that just gives this race such a unique aura about it. The length, the pitch, the different pitch strategy, the different faces that you see as winners at this track, everything is just so unique. And it really adds to the spectacle that is the Coca-Cola 600. So, from what I'm seeing right now, it looks like Dale Earnhardt has actually fought his way inside the top 10. Remember, when we started this race, he was outside the top 20. He was just barely finding his way inside the top 20. And here's Dale Earnhardt. You knew he wasn't going to stay down for long. Here he is. He is battling, to say the least. He is up to 10th. And right now, he's looking to take 9th away from Sterling Marlin, who has been in a free fall since the pit stop, to say the least. I saw there Bill Elliott was on the apron there going into turn number 1. I'm not sure. Maybe it was lap traffic that was getting in the way. I'm not sure what happened. But Elliott was down on the apron there getting into turn number 1. Nobody wrecked and everybody saved it. But, man, this has just been a frantic battle inside the top 10. Now here comes Tim Richmond. His biggest rivals right in his rearview mirror. Yep. And Richmond just went right around Ricky Rudd. And Tim Richmond, you know, after dominating between the years 1987 and 1989, there probably was not a much better driver than Tim Richmond. You got to figure, he finished first in the championship in 87. He finished second in the championship in 88. He finished second in the championship by 2 points in 1989. People were all thinking 1990, Tim Richmond was going to come out on fire. He was definitely going to win a championship. Well, that has not happened, to say the least, for Tim Richmond. The 1990s decade so far has not gone as well as Tim Richmond has wanted it to be. But I can assure you this team is still hungry. They're still fighting. They see the fast race cars that Ken Schrader they're bringing to the track week in and week out. And they're wondering, why can't we be more like Ken Schrader? So you could tell Tim Richmond and this team, whatever they're missing, especially from their teammate Ken Schrader, whatever they're missing, they are trying to bring this stuff to the track, and they are really working their tails off trying to get this car back to winning form, back to championship form. Because these guys do not want to be excluded from the championship. They had probably one of the best 3-year runs in NASCAR history, and I really don't think that I'm exaggerating when I say that. I mean, you consider Cale Yarborough, he won 3 championships in a row from 1976 to 1978. Tim Richmond could have very well done that. He was very, very, very close to doing so. I think it was only like 70 points off in total from actually winning all 3 championships. So it came down to the very last race in all 3 of the years that he won the title. So it was crazy, but man, nobody was as consistently dominant in the late 90s as Tim Richmond in that Folgers-sponsored Chevrolet. He was just a sight to see in the late 80s. If you go back and watch some of those races and you just see Tim Richmond up front and dominating, you're like, yeah, Tim Richmond. So right now, Tim Richmond is looking to try to take the 6th position away from Bill Elliott here, but Bill Elliott's also trying to take 5th away from Morgan Shepherd. So right now what you're watching is the battle for 5th. Morgan Shepherd in the 15, Bill Elliott in the 9, Tim Richmond in the 25, and Dale Earnhardt in the 3. That's your battle for 5th right now. And man, I tell you what, there is also another battle going on here, and that is for the 27th position that you're seeing here. That is between rookie Wally Dallenbach and rookie Ted Musgrave. So those guys are battling for rookie of the race, pretty much. But in order to do so, they actually got to catch another rookie who's right in front of them, and that's the number 68 of Bobby Hamilton. So right now, I believe Bobby Hamilton is the highest running rookie in 26th. Make sure that he indeed is. So the rookies right now running 26th, 27th, and 28th. Eddie Bierschwale is down on the apron and going into pit road already. So pit stops seem like they are going to start cycling already. It looks like Ken Schrader has already dove down on a pit road as well. So the new leader of the race, Rusty Wallace in the number 2. Looks like he's going to stay out this lap. See if there's any takers. Alan Kulwicki, Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, Davey Allison, Darrell Waltrip among the takers this time around. Again, here's your leader, Rusty Wallace. Look at the fastest lap charts. Dale Earnhardt is second on this chart. Remember that Dale Earnhardt was going to win this race last year? Yeah, and then Ernie Irvan was like, no. Well, knock, knock. Dale Earnhardt's coming back. Dale Earnhardt, second fastest on the speed charts. You know that Ken Schrader, he's going to want to really open up that lead, and you know he's going to try to tune the car to make it just a little bit faster because, man, he has been in a dogfight with Rusty Wallace all race long. And let's see here. He's going to come out well out in front of Alan Kulwicki, Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, and company. So he comes out well out in front of him, so well out in front of them. So we'll see where Ken Schrader ends up blending in here with Wallace and company. And there he goes. He just went right by Jeff Bodine. And it looks like he went right by Rusty Wallace. So pretty much the drivers are going to end up right where they were when they came on pit road. With the exception of Man in black, Dale Earnhardt. Look at this move. Hello. Out of the way, Jeff Bodine. Dale Earnhardt is coming through with a vengeance. Dale Earnhardt up to third after pit stops. That was a move and a half. Yeah, you could see Bobby Hamilton was on the outside there. Jeff Bodine was on the inside. And Dale Earnhardt, just wasting no time, goes right in the middle of both of them. You want to tell me that Dale Earnhardt wants to go up there, run down the leader, and try to win this race? He's 6 seconds down, but you know what? You know he's going to drive his ass off. No doubt about it. So right now we're on lap number 61 here of the Coca-Cola 600. We have 40 laps to go. Your leader and right now the dominator of this race, Ken Schrader, has led well, a lot of laps, and he, I believe, has guaranteed himself to have the most laps led in this race. 24 cars are on the lead lap, and the last car you see there on the lead lap is the number 21 of Neil Bonnet. So very soon it's going to be 23 cars being on the lead lap, and there he goes. So one more pit stop is going to happen before this race winds down. Oh boy. So the top 3 or 4 seem to be pretty locked right now with Ken Schrader. And man, excuse me, I'm rambling on. And meanwhile, we got cars going 3 wide into turn number 1. I mean, Jeff Bodine is just trying to find any way to get around lap traffic, it looks like right now. Might have found a pretty good way of doing it because he's right there still on Bill Elliott. He didn't lose any positions, but he didn't gain anything either. Ricky Rudd has found his way up into the 7th position, so he's been doing a great job piloting that number 26 car. And man, we have a, you know, before pit stops, you figure that pit stops were going to fill this field in. But no, that has not happened. These 5 guys, or 6 guys really, are still right on top of each other. And right now, Ken Schrader has a 5-second advantage over Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt. Yeah, man. Jeff Bodine now battling Bill Elliott. That is for the 5th position. And it looks like Bodine's going to go right around. Meanwhile, Ricky Rudd, he wants to have a position. None's going to be given to him. Meanwhile, Morgan Shepherd's trying to hold off a hard-charging Tim Richmond right behind him. Rounding out the top 10 right now is Sterling Marlin. But right in his rearview mirror is a young Davey Allison. Still trying to get career win number 2. You know he's really driving his tail off too, trying to get up there. There are some drivers that you just know, all of these drivers, they put in 110% effort week in and week out to try to get the best finish they possibly can. So when you see one of these drivers like Tim Richmond or Dale Earnhardt or Ricky Rudd or Davey Allison struggling to get anything done, you know it's not from a lack of effort. You know these guys are trying their absolute best to put the best car on the table. But these are the 40 best stock car drivers in the world, period. Like these are the cream of the crop. These guys are the best. So your 100% just might not be enough to compete with the best of them. And it gets frustrating at times. You know, you try to be the best, but you end up just being a jobber to the stars. And that is such a frustrating position to be in as a race car driver, being in that jobber to the stars location. Words can really not describe how frustrating that position can be. Absolutely. Meanwhile, we continue to watch what has been a pretty good battle here for the 7th position, as Ricky Rudd is desperately trying to hold off the 1987 throwback champion, Tim Richmond. And there he goes. Yep, Richmond down to the inside. Is he around him? Yep. Richmond takes the 7th position away. Meanwhile, Davey Allison looks like he's starting to fly around this track. And he is right on the back of Morgan Shepherd. He's looking to gain a ton of position. And he just booted Sterling Marlin, who had a very strong car early on. He was running up in the 2nd position early on in this race. But clearly his car is faded compared to everyone else, or maybe he made a bad adjustment and they're still trying to work on the car. I'm not 100% sure what is going on with the Sterling Marlin machine, but without a shadow of a doubt, Davey Allison is certainly coming through the field. Yep. And man, one thing I do have to say, what a disappointing day for our current points leader, Mark Martin. He's been outside. He qualified inside the top 10. He has been outside the top 10 pretty much all day long. He's had a very uphill battle. He's currently in the 12th position. So Mark Martin is struggling today, to say the least. He's really struggling with that race car. And as of right now, Rusty Wallace comes out of this race with the largest points lead of the season. So that's what it's looking like right now. Rusty Wallace coming out of this race with the points lead. And, yeah, just that one bad finish. And it's not even really a bad finish. It's just outside the top 10. That one finish just barely outside the top 10. And Mark Martin is looking to be at least 30 to 40 points back of Rusty Wallace here. It's crazy. That's just how tight the points battle is. Meanwhile, we look further up towards the front. A man in black, Dale Earnhardt. He is on a mission, ladies and gentlemen. He is within 5 seconds of the leader, and he is right on the back bumper of Rusty Wallace. The 3-time NASCAR champion is looking for a way around. Yep, Earnhardt is coming. No doubt about it. Earnhardt is coming. He's still got a blazing fast car, too. Doesn't look like he improved on his time. I could tell you that Ken Schrader improved on his time. Barely, but he did. But it does not look like Earnhardt or Wallace really improved on their times. There he goes. Earnhardt takes a peek. A little bit of contact there, maybe going into turn number 1. I don't know if that was really contact, but they are side by side coming off of turn 2. And Rusty Wallace with a good run off the turn. Not exactly the greatest place to try to make a pass there. Earnhardt, he's resurgent, though. He's going to try to make another swing at it. Don't be surprised if he just sends it off into turn number 1 here. No, he didn't quite send it. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that this battle is really costing both of these drivers a ton of track position. At least in relation to Ken Schrader. Because the more it's looking like, really starting to look like that Ken Schrader's just going to walk away with this thing. He's now 6 seconds ahead of both of these guys. Just from the battle alone. And there we go. Dale Earnhardt finally made his move. And Neil Bonnet gets in the way of his friend. Man. But he is around Wallace. So Dale Earnhardt, he's moved up into the 2nd position here at Charlotte. And meanwhile, Davey Allison continues to march towards the front as well. He has moved up into 8th. So very much improved car. And meanwhile, the two drivers who put up probably the greatest points battle in NASCAR history are right next to each other again on the track. And you know what? The fans go absolutely crazy whenever these two are even close to each other on the track. They know what these guys did in 1989. Only 2 points separated them. The entire season, 29 full races, and it came down to just one lap led. If you can believe that, if Bill Elliott, if it came down to it, if in one of those races, Bill Elliott didn't stay out on one of those green flag runs to pick up 5 bonus points to lead a lap in one of those races, he does not win the championship. Tim Richmond wins the championship. It is insane to tell you just how close that championship was. And like I said, the fans just absolutely eat it up whenever these two drivers get along. Obviously, these guys are good buddies and they get along well on the track. You know, they race each other hard. They race each other clean. It isn't one of those getting into a fight rivalries that you would expect here in NASCAR. That's not quite what we're having here. But what this is a very good, clean, it's a racer's battle. Two drivers with pretty much equal skill at their prime going at it to see who is the best on the track. And that, at the heart of it, is what makes NASCAR so awesome, is that you just get to see two of the greatest of all time battling each other, even if it's not for the lead, even if this is just for the 6th position. This is just a sight to see. You got to figure 3 championships. These guys have accrued 3 championships between them. Meanwhile, Bobby Hillin Jr. has blown up, and that's probably going to bring out a yellow flag. And I tell you what, if they throw the caution for that, that is going to change the entire complexion of the race. Tim Richmond just got around Bill Elliott. Are they throwing the yellow? Doesn't look like it. All right, so Bobby Hillin was able to at least get to an area where he could get off the track. They did not throw the yellow flag, so he was able to get off of the racetrack, to say the least. If they threw the yellow flag there, we would have had probably a very, very frantic couple of laps. Meanwhile, drivers are all coming down on the pit road now. Ken Schrader's already ducked down, so that makes your leader Dale Earnhardt. Who's right behind him but the number 2, Rusty Wallace. We'll see if everyone comes down pit road here. Earnhardt comes down. Wallace stays out. Kulwicki also staying out, along with Jeff Bodine. Davey Allison coming in. Ricky Rudd coming in. And Ken Schrader just coming out of pit road now. So that was Schrader's last stop. And we'll see if that was a good stop for Ken. Right now, and you got to figure, Rusty Wallace, if he wins this race, and this is worth repeating, he will have a shot to win $1 million at Darlington. So if there's any driver that absolutely wants this win bad out of anyone here, it's going to be that 2 machine. And Earnhardt isn't even in the same zip code as Ken Schrader coming back out on the track. Yep, Schrader has checked out, to say the least. Although I don't think the gap is necessarily as large as it once was. It looks like to be a pretty insurmountable one, to say the least. Yeah, it's only 3 seconds, and there's Rusty Wallace. It's not going to be his turn to go after $1 million this year, folks. This just ain't going to be the year. So this is the second straight Coca-Cola 600 finish where Dale Earnhardt is trying to chase someone down frantically. The gap is 3.4. And now it's only 2.8. Earnhardt is coming. Dale Earnhardt is coming fast. Oh, and Ken Schrader, he's got to navigate all of this lap traffic too. He's got to make sure he isn't hung up. Earnhardt's also got to make sure he doesn't get hung up too much either. Earnhardt's got a very fast car, but I don't know if he'll be able to close in. Oh, wow, Earnhardt much faster. 2.5 is the gap now. It's like he's reeling in almost 0.3 of a second per lap. At this rate, he'd end up catching and passing Ken Schrader with pretty much ease. I'll have to see. There is a lot of traffic in between Ken Schrader and Dale Earnhardt. 2.1 seconds is the gap now. Yeah, this is going to get very interesting now between Ken Schrader and Dale Earnhardt. Can Earnhardt run down Ken? 10 laps to do it. Now, this seems like a really this seems really far-fetched, but I tell you what, if there's any driver that's out there on the track right now that can make up over 2 seconds in just a few laps, it's going to be Dale Earnhardt. The lead is now underneath 2 seconds, but now Earnhardt is in a ton of traffic. Oh man, if Earnhardt can clear all of these guys here in turn 3, he is actually going to have a fantastic shot at getting around Ken Schrader. I mean, there's going to really be nobody in between him and Schrader at that point. Earnhardt really getting held up, but the lead now down to 1.5 seconds. Earnhardt trying to make it 3 wide again. Good Lord. Earnhardt driving the wheels off his car in the late stages of this race, trying to pick up his first win of 1991. Schrader's just doing his job. He's just driving his car. He's taking it for a nice little stroll. Following Kyle Petty. He doesn't need to pass Kyle Petty. He can just run at Kyle Petty's pace right now. Let Earnhardt use up his tires. He's got to pass all those cars. If Earnhardt starts running them down, Ken Schrader can start picking up the pace a little bit. And Schrader should be able to pull away, given that he would have his tires more saved up than Earnhardt. So right now, Ken Schrader can kind of just hold his position, but of course he's not going to do that. Schrader down to the inside of Kyle Petty. And pretty much a clean track ahead for the 5 machine. Meanwhile, Earnhardt trying to find his way to a clean track. Trying to get around the lapped car of Brett Bodine now. The lead's still 1.8 seconds. There's only the car of Kyle Petty in between Ken Schrader and Dale Earnhardt. I don't think Earnhardt's going to be able to get it done, folks. 4.5 laps to go. It looks like Schrader's got this race wrapped up here, guys. Yeah, it looks like Schrader's pretty much got it. He's just got to hang on for 4 more laps. Earnhardt faster, but not by enough. Meanwhile, you want to talk about another comeback story. Let's talk about Davey Allison. He is in the 5th position right now, and he actually might have a good shot at getting to 4th, considering Alan Kulwicki is in all of this traffic. And he is probably going to get the 4th position here. Good Lord. So all that traffic, and Alan Kulwicki is right there. I mean, Davey Allison is right there to try to pass Alan Kulwicki. 3 to go. Dale Earnhardt just took a huge chunk out of the gap, but that also probably has a lot to do with Ken Schrader navigating around Greg Sachs. Two laps to go. Back, Allison might not be able to get all the way up to Alan Kulwicki here. Mark Martin, after those pit stops, it looks like he's going to be finishing in 12th. 4 seconds to the next guy in front of him, 5 seconds to the next guy behind him. That looks pretty much set in stone. And Jeff Bodine just caught a ride on the Wayback Train. He just lost about 4 or 5 spots there, getting stuck behind Richard Petty. And here we go. White flag is out. 1 lap to go for Ken Schrader. Trying to come back from a dismal 1990 campaign. He went winless, struggled to stay in the top 20 in points. But it looks like finally he's going to put the finish down. Ken Schrader is going to win the Coca-Cola 600. And it's a long way to 3rd place. There goes Wallace. Allison will finish 5th. And what a race. Ken Schrader able to take the victory today here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in what has to be very, very dominating fashion. That's the only way that can be describing it. Just a very, very impressive run today by Ken Schrader, coming here and just dominating the 600. And we take a look at the standings. I thought that Mark Martin was going to lose the points lead. I guess not. Wow. That is incredible. 2 points now separate Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace after that 12th place finish from Martin. And now Ricky Rudd has the most top 10s this season with 8. Ken Schrader, he'll move up to 12th in points. He's had those inconsistencies this season too. But if you really want to see those inconsistencies, take a look at the lap sled, 208. He almost has as much as Ricky Rudd, and he has more than the current leader in wins, Rusty Wallace. And you can see another guy that really does have a fast car every single week. Ricky Rudd has 4 poles this season, believe it or not. So they're doing a great job. But Mark Martin, with his consistency, 12th is apparently just barely enough to hold on to the points lead over Rusty Wallace in that after that race. Alan Kulwicki, Ricky Rudd, they're both within 50. Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, both of them are still within 100 after that impressive runner-up performance by Dale Earnhardt. Well, that's going to conclude our broadcast. Tune in next time for the Budweiser 500 at the Dover Downs International Speedway.